right. Good evening, everyone. Time is 6:30, just after 6:30, February the 20th, 2024. This regular meeting of the mayor and council is now called to order. I do apologize. We're kind of in a new environment up here tonight. Some little bit of confusion going on. Roll call. All council members are present. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance followed by an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tyson, will you pray, please?
Heavenly Father, we come thanking you. Thanking you, Lord, for this wonderful day. Thanking you, Lord, for all these people who are concerned about the city of Social Circle. We ask that you come into this meeting. We ask you to guide us on making our decisions. In your son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tyson. All right, I have a few announcements. All of the meetings that I'm about to go through take place in the community room. Of course, we have our meeting tonight. Municipal Court is February the 21st at 1 p.m. Planning Commission, February 27th at 6 p.m. Tree Board meeting,
I'm checking.
don't have a date on that one. Our council work session, March the 7th at 6:30. Main Street Commission meeting, March 12th, 8 a.m. Historic Preservation meeting, March 12th at 6 p.m. And our next council meeting, March 19th at 6:30 p.m.
The tree board does not have a February meeting.
And Tree Board is not meeting in February. All right, that takes us to our presentations, employee introduction and recognition.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to introduce Keith Morrell. He's our street superintendent, and he likes to hunt and spend time with family. And he has 3 girls and 3 grandsons, and he's doing a great job.
Welcome, sir.
And then the next one I'd like to introduce is Greg Prater. He works on the street department. He has 4 kids, 4 grandkids, and likes to play the guitar.
All right, who's doing our downtown rundown? Oh, we got another one, I'm sorry. Trying to jump ahead.
So this is Cody Ellis, our new planner. He's an Army vet, a UGA grad. He lives in Monticello, and he's the former community development director for the city of Forsyth.
Welcome, sir. Okay, one more, all right.
This is Miss Sandy Mitchell. She has filled our admin support specialist role. Miss Sandy's here in town. She's going to be the smile and face you get to see when you come in the office in the fire department. So she'll be up front there with me and helping us to be our primary point of contact. So look forward to having the help and excited to have her on board.
Welcome.
Good evening. This is the downtown rundown for February. First off, the merchant group met last week and everyone had great things to say about the chocolate crawl. They estimated around 250 plus people that they saw come through that night. It was on Thursday, February the 8th. So great turnout. They said it was a wonderful night. We have Coffee and Conversations on February the 27th. It will be hosted by Three Twisted Sisters. It will be at 9 a.m. at their shop, and that's on February the 27th. The next event that we have coming up in downtown is the St. Patrick's Day Beer Crawl. It will be on Friday, March the 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then also want to let you know that we have scheduled the citywide cleanup. It is scheduled for the weekend of April the 12th through the 14th. It was posted on the city website, and we're promoting it. We're also doing dumpster weekend that weekend, so I've coordinated with Robbie about having the dumpsters there, and so we posted what we'll accept and what we won't accept for that weekend. And then we also set a date for the citywide yard sale weekend. That's going to be scheduled for May the 17th through the 19th. And that's all I have.
Questions for Amber? Thank you, Amber. All right, citizens' requests, I don't have any. Are there any council requests? Hearing none, move on, and I'll ask for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Steve and a second from Nathan. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. All right, brings us to our public hearings this afternoon. We have, this evening, we have several. The way we'll do public hearings, like we always do, we'll ask city staff to give us a report on the request. After hearing that, we'll ask the applicant to come up if they are available. We'll open the public hearing, invite the public up to speak. We'll give 10 minutes for those that are in favor of and 10 minutes for those that are opposed. That's 10 minutes aggregate. It is not 10 minutes for each person that speaks. After that, close the public hearings and bring it back to the council for deliberation and a vote. With that, our first public hearing is consideration. It's kind of out of order to me, but I thought this one would be last. But we've got consideration of amendments to the Unified Development Code to include the mixed-use business park zoning designation.
Yes, this is something that we needed to do because in December of 2022, the city rezoned tax parcel 133,005 to mixed-use business park with several conditions listed. There's an attached action notice with those conditions. And after we adopted the Unified Development Code in June, the mixed-use business park designation was unintentionally excluded from the rewrite. So to address this unintentional error, the city is proposing a text amendment to include the zoning designation. And this would allow for that tax parcel that's zoned mixed-use business park to have applicable code within the Unified Development Code. Staff recommended approval of this text amendment, and the Planning Commission also unanimously recommended approval with the amendments shown in your package redlined to basically mirror the conditions that were placed on the tax parcel 133,005.
Questions for Ashley? Okay. The city is the applicant on this request. There was no one signed up for the public hearing to speak, so I'll close the public hearing and bring this one back to the council for a motion.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Second.
Okay? Multiple seconds, but Steve made the motion, Tyson second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that are in opposition, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 2 is a rezone 2024-001 Connor Springs subdivision at 353 Spring Street, also known as tax parcel SC 170040, requesting changes into conditions to amend the architectural standards, replace the pool with a splash pad, and remove the fountain in the stormwater pond. Ashley.
Yes, so I'll kind of go through each of these conditions. The first request is to change condition 3 subsections G and P. Those read as follow. G says 50% of the home shall have a front facade with a minimum of 50% brick or stone, and this 50% of those homes shall be measured as percentage of actual covered wall space and would exclude doors and windows. And there's subsection 1 that says at least 50% of these homes shall have this minimum 50% facade on 3 sides of the home, front and both sides. And then P also says that the side and rear elevations of the homes to contain brick or stone water table matching the front elevation masonry material, and the water table shall be established from finish lot grade to the bottom of the first floor windows or at least 30 inches in height, whichever is lower. Instead, the applicant has provided several proposed farmhouse-style elevations and house plans as an alternative to demonstrate the style of housing they would like to build within the subdivision. Those are included within y'all's packets. The second condition that the applicant is requesting a change in is condition 4, which reads as follows. Amenity to include a swimming pool and at least 2 tennis courts. Amenity must be completed prior to the recording of Phase 2 final plat. The applicant has requested that the developer installs a splash pad instead of a pool for reasons listed within their application. Administratively, the city has approved a minor condition change to allow for pickleball courts instead of tennis courts because they are similar in use and size. The third condition that the applicant is requesting a change to is condition 5, which reads as follows. Stormwater pond on the north side of the stream, as shown on the zoning site plan, must have an operating fountain. The applicant states that the ponds will only retain water seasonally, so the fountain will not function properly under these conditions. The planning commission heard this request at their January 23 meeting, and they unanimously recommended removal of condition number 5, retainment of condition number 4, removal of condition number 3G, and an amendment to condition number 3P stating that all homes must have a brick or stone water table from finished lot grade to the bottom of the first floor windows, or at least 30 inches in height, whichever is lower. Staff recommended denial of all the requests.
Applicants? Please give us your name for the record.
Yes, Mayor and Council. My name's Val Akins. I'm the land acquisition manager for Liberty Communities. We're the developer and the builder for Connor Springs subdivision. And we're located off of Eagles Landing Parkway in Stockbridge, but we build out in this area quite frequently. Thank you for hearing our request, and I have to say, this room looks great. I was in here for the planning and zoning meeting, and it was quite different, and so it's really nice.
Thank you.
The architectural standards is probably the most important piece for us. We had a good conversation regarding the splash pad in the pool with the planning and zoning department, planning and zoning meeting. Can you all hear me? Am I
Yes,
coming across?
yes.
I'm kind of loud anyway, so I don't know if I need the mic, but anyway. And then the removal of the fountain, and really the removal of the fountain, if we can just start there and then I'll go back up the list, okay? Is because of the functionality of the fountain it's going to cause problems because neither one of these ponds hold water. They're detention ponds. They're not going to retain water. They're going to flow in and out depending on the season and the water levels. And it would be great to have a pond that would look aesthetically nice and you'd see the fountain. And so, but that's not the case. And so you're going to have a maintenance issue with this fountain. It's going to get clogged and it's just not going to function, I think, the way it was thought that it could function when the neighborhood community was planned and it was designed, okay? So that's the issue with the fountain. With this splash pad in the pool, we would love to build a splash pad. We feel like there are reasons why the splash pad is more economically suited for an HOA over a long period of time. But it became very clear to us in speaking with planning and zoning that their opinion was the pool would be a better use, and with their recommending denial of that, that's not something that's a huge issue for us. We're okay if we keep it just the way that it is. The amenities, keep them the way they are with the with the pool, with the playground, with the pickleball courts and the mail kiosks, and just keep it the same. With architectural standards, point G and P in the ordinance, we had proposed a farmhouse plan, a farmhouse style home for this neighborhood. And Mr. Taylor, can you pull up the presentation? I can just, or Ms. Susan?
I see it.
Yeah, it's just a slide presentation. It just shows some of the pictures of the houses we like to build and the elevations. So you can go to the next slide, please. So this is some of the interiors. There's the kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom, and the shower tub area. We'll have the opportunity for people to choose a standalone tub, all hard surfaces throughout the house with granite countertops. In addition to our standard kitchen features, we have a gourmet kitchen, which would allow for, take advantage of the city gas, and if they would like, with a gas cooktop and other gourmet features. We want to make the houses very nice and attractive to our buyers, and we believe we're beginning to understand the price point. I mean, we're a little ways off of coming out of the ground with our houses, but we're getting a pretty good understanding of the price point for this area. You can go to the next slide, please. The houses will feature back porches and front porches, and we hope it'll be a neighborhood where people will love to gather and will enjoy the features of the homes and the amenities. This is a ranch house. It's more of a farmhouse looking house with board and batten and hardy plank or cedar cementous fiber board with a brick water table. There's another elevation of this that puts a little bit more brick on the house than just the water table. And then you can just flip through these. Go ahead. This is a 2-story with a front porch and another 2-story model. We are putting all the other conditions of zoning, the carriage, garage doors, and many of the other things that are in there, we've met those conditions unanimously. So. And then we are still evaluating how many plans we'll have in this neighborhood. So the next slides are just all of the plans that we provide in this farmhouse look, okay? And we wanted to put those in there just so you all will know that we're still going through the process of determining the exact number of plans, okay? So I hope this gives you some understanding of what we're wanting to build and the look that we're going for. And we would just simply request that you consider what planning and zoning has approved and allow us to build this style of home in this neighborhood. We think it would be a compliment to the city. And then I'll pause for any questions you have for me or to give other people time if there are people who want to speak for and in opposition.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions?
So just to clarify, what the planning commission has approved as far as architectural standards go, y'all are okay with that?
Their recommendations?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
100%, yes.
With the change. With the change.
With the change, yeah, what they had proposed.
Okay. We did not have anyone sign up for the public hearing on this, so I'll do the right thing and open and close the public hearing
Okay.
and bring it back to the city council for a decision.
Make a motion to take the recommendation of the planning commission, but only part 5. The water feature.
Okay, so
Everything else stays the same.
the motion is to deny parts 1 and 2 and take part 5
Part 5's the only part we're gonna, is the motion.
as recommended by planning and zoning.
So just so we're clear on that, your motion is to go back to what was originally approved,
Yes, all except for part 5,
except for the aerator.
the water feature.
So we're taking the water feature out. They don't have to do the water feature, the pool.
The pool stays,
Stays as a
everything
pool.
stays the
Everything else
same
stays.
except for the water feature.
All right. I second that motion.
Okay, motion from Stephen, a second from Tyson. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion passes 3-1 with Councilmember Boyd voting no. All right, next item up is a variance 2024-001 for 1511, 1515, and 1521 North Cherokee Road, also known as tax parcels SC120034, SC120028, and SC120029. They're requesting a variance from section 3.3.13A.1 of the Unified Development Code for a fuel station closer than 2,500 feet to an existing fuel station.
That is correct. The applicant is requesting a variance from the section of the Unified Development Code that requires fuel stations to be 2,500 feet apart from an existing fuel station, as the crow flies. Two of these three properties that are proposing a gas station were rezoned to business in June of 2023. With the condition that they must be combined, and that as long as the property to the south remained residential in use, a 40-foot wide vegetated buffer that is 6 foot tall at the time of planting and allows for adequate site distance shall be maintained. And the specific use standards for a fuel station are covered under section 3.3.13.a. And one of those conditions is that they must be located at least 2,500 feet from an existing fuel station. Staff recommended denial on this variance request, and Planning Commission also unanimously recommended denial of this request.
Okay. Questions for Ashley? All right. Hearing none, does the applicant or Tip, is Tip going to present?
No, sir, I will be presenting.
Okay. Please come forward.
Didn't know my rapping career was going to start.
Yeah.
Josh is getting my presentation up there.
Which one first?
First one, yes, please. Go right to left. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Andrea Gray, and this evening I'm representing Darshan Patel in his request for a variance and special use permit to construct a gas station and convenience store. The property, which I know you're all familiar with, it consists of 3 parcels that total 1.87 acres. They're all zoned appropriately for general commercial. They're in the commercial character area, and they're just off of, or just on Highway 11 as you're coming into the city limits. A little bit of interesting history about this property. For about 50 years, there was an existing grocery store, restaurant, and Texaco gas station on this property. One of the current owners, Miss Vicki Bales, is the daughter of the owner of those properties and helped her parents work in that restaurant. So just interesting that we're asking today for approval of what was there for a good 50 plus years. The applicant, Mr. Patel, he has owned and operated a gas station on Highway 11 in Monroe for 11 years. He's very community involved and aware. He has a staff. You'll see here his wife helps him run the gas station there. They have a great breakfast spot. They serve over 300 biscuits every morning. They donate to baseball teams. They donate biscuits to the sheriff's office. They're very much in tune with the Monroe community and want to be the same here in Social Circle if allowed to build their store here. Here's the site plan to give you a picture of what we're proposing to do on the site. It includes a 3,850 square foot convenience store flanked on either side by a 1,500 square foot retail space. The 40-foot planted buffer is shown here, as Ms. Ashley referenced. There will also be a 6-foot privacy fence on the side
that abuts the existing residential property. My client has also agreed to put screening vegetation along Highway 11 to better screen the parking and the asphalt areas. He's moved the dumpster to the rear of the property furthest away from the residential property adjoining to it. And you can see about a fourth to about a third of the property will actually be stormwater and septic drainage fields, so it will be pervious surface on about a third of the site. Here's a photo representation of what the store might look like. Again, convenience store flanked on either side by retail. My client would, of course, work with the city on any architectural requirements, but here again is just a depiction of what it could look like. Tonight we're asking for a variance and a special use permit. As Ms. Ashley laid out, the new ordinance that you adopted in June requires a 2,500-foot distance between property boundary to property boundary between gas stations. This picture here is just from your staff report. So again, we're asking for a variance to allow our gas station to be built closer. And then your ordinance also requires a special use permit for gas stations to be located anywhere in the city. There are several distinguishing factors that we feel set this project apart and give justification for the variance in the special use permit that we're requesting tonight. A big one is that our project is located on Highway 11, which is a completely different road than the closest Chevron, which is by Mammy's, which is on North Cherokee. You cannot see one property from the other. And there's significant limitations in your city because of the watershed protection area. And I'll get to that more in a minute about where gas stations can and cannot be built. But our station and the existing Chevron will serve two totally different client bases. The clients that would be using my client's gas station are those coming down Highway 11, commuting between Monroe and Social Circle, heading down to the employment centers down in Stanton Springs. Whereas the clients coming through downtown Social Circle will be those that are purposely coming into your city. So our gas station could potentially alleviate traffic that wouldn't otherwise come through the city that needs to get gas, but could just get it on Highway 11 and keep heading back down to Stanton Springs. Here's some maps that we did. This is just using Google Maps. I just did driving directions from one address to another address, so no magic in calculating these. We looked at the closest gas station to the north, which is back up to Monroe. It's about 5.6 miles to the nearest gas station heading north. Heading southwest, again, is the Chevron, and driving distance address to address was 0.5 miles, so that's about 2,600 feet away driving distance-wise. And then we looked down further south past the city limits, and the next nearest gas station there was about 5.8 miles south. So there's a good distance between existing gas stations and where my client's gas station would be located. Here's the watershed protection area. You can see my client, the property is in yellow, the yellow star there. Everything to the east of Highway 11 is in this watershed protection district, which means that no gas stations whatsoever can be built in that district. So to the extent that your intent is to not have a gas station on every corner, that could not happen here anyway, based on that watershed protection district. Here's a zoomed out picture of that district. You can see it, a little over a quarter of your city is in that district. So there's little danger of your city being overly populated with gas stations, again, because none can be located in that area. So my client has met all the requirements for the variance. It's consistent with the comp plan. If you take a literal interpretation of the ordinance versus meeting the intent of the ordinance, our proposal meets the intent of your ordinance. Our gas station will not be visible from the other gas station. It will serve two completely different customer bases, those going to 11 and those coming into your city. And it creates a substantial hardship in multiple ways. So the hardship is really twofold. One is on my client, who's the applicant, Mr. Patel. This is an all or nothing proposition for him. Either he gets a variance and he can build a gas station, or he doesn't get a variance and he cannot build the gas station. He can't make the building bigger or smaller, he can't change buffers, he can't pick up this piece of property and move it further away from the existing property. It's a hardship for him in that he cannot build the gas station at all. A hardship is also on the property owners who are here with us tonight, and you'll hear from her in a moment. But the Bales have had this property for sale since 2016. They have been unsuccessful in selling it. They've had a difficult time. They've had multiple contracts on the property that have fallen through due to difficulty in getting city approval for the proposed uses. Again, this is a property that has been used for a gas station in its history, used for a store, and used for a restaurant. So with inability to sell the property because of inability to get the use approved through the city, it's a substantial hardship on the property owners. Special use permit, I know we have a separate public hearing on this, but the two actions are tied together, and so I just wanted to hit the highlights on that here as well. But my client has met all the requirements for a special use permit due to the site being able to accommodate a gas station, the location being ideal for this use, and it not being a detriment to the public interest. Gas stations are highly regulated by EPD. Underground storage tanks have to be permitted, they have to be reported every year. They have surprise inspections, tanks have to meet a certain standard. So this will be a highly regulated operation that will not be a detriment to the public. So with that, we ask that you grant our variance request and the special use permit request. And with that, I reserve any time that I have for rebuttal and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. You have about 3 minutes remaining for rebuttal. Any questions for Ms. Gray? Okay, thank you. I'll open the public hearing. We've had several people sign up to speak for and one person to speak against, so I'll ask in order that you've signed up to speak for, Mr. Darshan Patel.
That should be fine.
Okay. Tip.
Honorable Mayor and ladies and gentlemen in the council, my name is Tip Huynh. I'm Mr. Patel consultant, engineer consultant. I'm also a property owner in the city of Social Circle, as well as business owner here as well. I love Social Circle. I love it. I bought my property here. It's one where when I first come here, it's very welcoming, and it's very open to, and then later on I brought my wife business here. And so I love Social Circle, and I want the same opportunity for my client to be able to open his business here, just like I did. And so, and the other thing I want to add to Ms. Andrea Gray is that the section of the area where the property is located is on the city current future land use for commercial businesses, and so it's not conducive for residential. It is certainly is planned for and certainly in the future plan use of the city for all of that strip along Highway 11 to be business oriented. Also, I like to bring the facts that my client has been over backward in order to provide any accommodations that might occur. He introducing a fence, he put a buffer along the neighbors that might have concern. There was some concern about fuel tanks being unsafe. There's certainly room that we can move the tanks a little bit further up so that we can move it away from the residential property to the south. And so with that, I ask that city and city council, mayor and city council approve my client's request for this variance and special use permit.
Thank you, Tip. Vicky Bales.
Anyway, I don't think I need a microphone. I've been in sales all my life, but. so
We need it for the recording.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Put your hand around the top. There you go.
Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyway, I was born in 1501 North Cherokee Road in 1956. So the entire corridor in that area has always been the Lemons and the O'Kellys.
Anyway, we have always had, from the first day that I can remember, we have had the restaurant and the gas station. And it was originally owned there by the O'Kellys, and then later, after after they passed away, my parents took over the property. I can remember when, I guess, I don't even remember how old I was, but my grandparents lived back behind 1501 North Cherokee, and my grandmother would say, okay, go to O'Kelly's and get me a chicken. I got to cook a chicken, so I'd get on my mini bike and go there to pick up a chicken. But we wouldn't even be having any of these conversations if my parents had not passed away, because we would have kept the restaurant going. And and one of the reasons that we didn't continue the restaurant was we were asked to bring it up to code because it was an older restaurant, and we were going to spend a lot of money on the repairs, and the restaurant was just something that we could not afford to do. But there has always been a service station there. My parents and the family have always been a big service to the community. And they served meat, and our restaurant served beer and wine. And anyway, this has just been very hard since 2016. We've tried so many different realtors, so many different properties and things to be built there, and everything was just turned away. Now, my husband retired in 2014, and so this has been a big burden on us. And it's just, can't just keep understanding why it just gets put away when the history of this property was nothing but a service to the community of Social Circle. The restaurant, and like I say, my parents lived in that house all these years that there was this restaurant and the grocery store and the beer and wine and everything was sold, and there was never any problem as far as the noise or anything like that. I request that you consider this and let us get this property sold and put something in that area that's going to be beautiful, it's going to serve the community, and and I just don't think that we should be penalized because, like I say, the gas stations would be there, and the new gas station, which is what, the BP station now? Well, why, if our station was still standing and still running, we wouldn't have this problem. So we're being penalized because there's another station that's 24 or 2,500 feet down the road. And like Angie said, that it won't be seen, it's not going to cause a problem, the crow flies, and, it's just more red tape. And I just beg of you, and I hope that you guys will approve, Mr. Patel, to improve this property and put it back like we had before when the whole Lemons family was living there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, to speak against, we have William Davidson.
May not have enough copies. Thank you. Before we start, would it be possible to get this slide back up on the screen?
Sorry for the interruption.
Is that part of this, Grace?
There's a picture of that towards the.
Ours. Is it Ashley's?
The third one in the row, right? That one.
Is that it?
Yeah, yes. Thank you. My name is Randy Davidson, and I wish to speak in opposition to granting this variance, as well as the special use permit to allow a fuel station at the location we're discussing. My wife, Gina, and my daughter, Andrea Reeves, are co-owners of the house at 1501 North Cherokee, and my daughter and her husband live there. We have attended and commented on this proposed project at each opportunity before the Planning Commission and the mayor and council. We've expressed opposition to construction of a fuel station for a variety of reasons, which are documented in the Planning Commission and mayor and council minutes. I won't repeat all of those here. I do wish to clearly state, however, that the current plan does not resolve all of our concerns regarding noise, lighting, traffic, stormwater management, potential health issues, and potential safety issues, and so forth. Today, I'd like to focus on the requested variance, which both the community development staff as well as the Planning Commission have recommended be denied. Distance limitations are common within local and state zoning and/or land use regulations regarding fuel stations all across the country. Social Circle developed the UDC and specified 2,500 feet measured property line to property line as the minimal distance between existing and new fuel stations, and that's what's indicated on the slide there. The requested variance would reduce this distance to just under 1,400 feet, or only about 56% of the required distance. There's a January 10th letter from the applicant's representative, which suggests measuring the distance by road. That's not an option within the UDC. And in that letter twice asserted that this by road distance is a half mile or 2,640 feet. That was again asserted right here earlier. Examination of this aerial photograph, you can see the start and ending points of the measurement as required by the UDC is 1,300 feet. That's the two arrowheads. If you look at that, if you go by road, it's not twice that distance by the arrowheads as has been suggested. It's closer to 1,700 or 1,800 feet, and that's actually using the measurement function of Google Maps, not a driving estimate. I believe this by road alternative is a misleading attempt to introduce a distance sufficient to skirt the 2,500 foot requirement, and is thus inappropriate and should be disregarded. The applicant's letter, and as was in their presentation here just a few minutes ago, also introduces what they call other analysis factors, including generation of tax revenues, a focus on the distance to fuel stations on Highway 11, the watershed protection district, and location outside the view from the Chevron on North Cherokee. These are good things. They seem to want to do things beneficial for the city, but they're not justification for issuing a variance. None of them, in my opinion, provide that justification. nor are they directly germane to deciding the suitability of this specific location for a fuel station. If any of you have been out there on this site or were you to go, you will find that there are significant issues with water, stormwater. You've got the railroad track with inadequate piping to clear water under the track. All of this it's basically in a bowl. And that they're already having problems with stormwater runoff. So just sheet water runoff. Adding a larger impermeable surface which speeds up and increases the amount of water to be handled, I don't think is suitable. And, you know, plus they've got a plan where their septic system and what they call a stormwater management facility are side by side. I did a little bit of looking in the stormwater management area on the internet, and in Georgia, there's a commission that's focused mainly around the Atlanta area, but also includes counties near here. And they recommend at least 50 feet separation between a stormwater pond and a septic field. And that's not likely going to be possible here. Plus, we don't know how many septic fields they're going to need, whether it's going to be one total or one for each business. So I would urge you to disapprove the request for this variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray, you have about 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you. I may reference some of my slides during my rebuttal if that is appropriate. But I appreciate Mr. Davidson speaking this evening. And I will say my client wants to be a good neighbor. And in being a good neighbor, he's made efforts, thank you very much, with his site plan here, with the site plan to install mitigating measures to reduce any impacts to Mr. Davidson's property and to his daughter and son-in-law that live on that property. And again, we've added a 40-foot, 6-foot planted trees in that buffer and a privacy fence. But some of the hard reality here is that this property and Mr. Davidson's property, they're on Highway 11. They're on a state route. And my client's property has been used for commercial more than 50 years. This is not a new use to that area. And so, you know, while we're happy to mitigate as best we can, I think there's just not a realistic expectation when you buy a home on a state highway in a commercial area for there not to be commercial development adjacent to you, particularly when this was just rezoned in June. Additionally, I'd like to address the distance and the distance requirement. I'll go back to that. So my client actually put this contract under, this property under contract in May, and you adopted your new zoning ordinance in June. And so in May, this requirement was not in the ordinance, but he did not get his applications and whatnot filed in time. But his expectation was that he would be able to build the gas station here. So that was an important factor, and that is why we're here, again, pursuing this variance. There's no question that we don't meet the letter, the black and white letter of your ordinance, which is why we need the variance. And our statements regarding the driving distance being 2,500 feet and the watershed protection area is just to say that if the intent of the ordinance is to prevent a gas station on every corner and to prevent a gas station every half a mile down the same road, we are meeting that intent because we are 2,500 feet driving distance and we're next to the watershed protection district. So if the intent of the ordinance is met, then the variance can be granted, and that is our argument. The variance is also justified, again, by the hardships. And you heard from Ms. Bales that she's inherited this property and she's tried since 2016 to sell it and has been unable to do so. And so it would be a substantial hardship not to grant the variance to allow her to sell this property to Mr. Patel for development of this project. Mr. Davidson also referenced concerns about stormwater runoff and our septic management system. We will be required to meet all the regulations and requirements to get permits to be able to build this facility. So that will all run through the city, and we will have to comply with those. In addition to requirements from EPD, again, as I talked about before, with the underground storage tanks, highly regulated. Mr. Patel was telling me that if you don't register every year and if you don't pass inspection, they don't give you gas. They shut you down altogether. So it is a highly regulated industry, and we will have to meet all of those. And again, with regard to the distance, just want to clarify, I literally took 2 addresses and ran the driving distance on Google Maps. So no magic there, no intent to say that we meet the ordinance. We don't meet the ordinance. We know that. That's why we're here for a variance. But again, we meet the intent of the ordinance. And that's why you apply for a variance. And that's what we're requesting that you grant this evening. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Anything? Thank you, Ms. Gray. I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for discussion or a motion.
So in discussion, I see that they said that we denied everything that they tried to build there on the site. Something about the fruit stand or something like that is what I think she referenced to.
We haven't had any applications from Fruit Stand.
I was just trying to clear that up because I know we heard that we denied.
We've had no applications from him. I know that he talked about putting a facility up there, but the type of building he was wanting to build does not meet the standards.
Okay.
And once he found that out, didn't hear anything else about it.
Okay.
Well, in discussion, I do want to say that I grew up here. And ever since I was a little girl, that has always been a commercial site with a gas station and restaurant. And that is also in our land usage map. We plan for this. This is no surprise what type of business, that's going to go there. Also, I've been driving up down Highway 11, and I've witnessed all the cars that are coming down there and that are going to the bypass. They're not coming into Social Circle, so that's revenue for our city. So with that said, I would like to make a motion to grant the variance and the special use permit.
We got to hold off on special use.
Okay.
So we'll take your motion to
Just the variance.
approve the variance. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Teresa and a second by Steve. Is there further discussion? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1 with Councilmember Jackson voting no. All right, takes us to our next public hearing, which is a special use for a fuel station at 1511, 1515, and 1521 North Cherokee Road, also known as tax parcels SC 120034, 0028, and 0029. Ashley.
Yes, that is correct. So this is for the special use for a fuel station at the properties listed on the agenda. This request was originally heard at or was originally applied for at the September 26, 2023 meeting of the Planning Commission, where the applicant requested to table it. So they heard it again on October 24th. And then the request came before Mayor and Council on November 21st, and then they sent it back with, to the Planning Commission with the caveat that the applicant would also have to apply for a variance. And they heard that at their January 23rd meeting. So it's now before you. To dive into more about the site plan and the updates that we have heard in the previous public hearing. In the beginning, there were some issues with the site plan. They went over the parking maximum. The dumpster, I believe, was in the side yard. So they have updated their site plan to reflect changes that would be required of them by the code. And they do appear to be meeting the condition of the 6-foot-high at-planting vegetative buffer to the south of the property, which would border along the residential use. And as far as the retail space that would be housed in the 1,000 square feet to either side of the roughly 3,800 square feet convenience store, they would only be able to have uses that were allowed. Anything that would require special use would have to come back before Planning Commission and Mayor and Council. And staff recommended denial of this request, and Planning Commission also unanimously recommended denial of this request as well.
Questions for Ashley?
From what I'm hearing you say, even though he gets a special use for the gas station, the two businesses on each side, if they don't fall into a use that is in the UDC, then they got to come back too.
If in the permitted use table, they're required to have a special use, they would have to come back before Planning Commission and Mayor and Council in order to occupy that space, yes, or to use that space as that use. So if it has an S in the permitted use table, it would still have to come back before Mayor and Council.
But if it doesn't have the S, they can locate it.
Yes, if it has a P or an L in there, they're good to go, as long as they meet their standards.
So was staff recommend denial based on the UDC, the reason why they're denying these uses?
Staff recommended denial because it doesn't meet the distance requirements required by the UDC.
That was on the variance.
No, that's over.
Okay. Any other questions for Ashley? All right. I'll open the public hearing to the audience. Anyone wishing to speak for, please come forward. We have Mr. Patel signed up. Wish to speak?
Is the applicant authorized to make a
Yes,
presentation?
absolutely.
Thank you again, Andrea Gray, representing Darshan Patel. I will not put you through my presentation again, I promise that. But I just want to highlight a couple things. One is, as Ms. Ashley said, we did update the site plan so that it does meet the requirements. And again, just reiterating that this will serve two different client bases. It's already in a commercial area. Thank you so much for granting the variance to alleviate the distance issue. And again, we just ask for your approval of the special use permit, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Andrew? Tip?
I would like to address the stormwater concern that the opposition party brought up in the previous variance application. I believe the city is requiring us to follow the Georgia Stormwater Manual. I will go by that strictly, and city outside consultant, engineer consultant will make sure that I'll follow that same document. So I'll have to make sure that everything is all the detention requirements, all the storm water quality requirement is met. Most likely, we'll have to install any runoff reductions, which would help the downstream property to try to infiltrate the water into the ground. And the opposition brought up the facts that the septic and the storm system can't be 50 feet apart. I am very aware of that, and that would certainly help his cause as well, because if we can't fit a large septic system in there, then our use, our side building would have to be something very light, very light use. And so all of that have to be designed in concert with each other so that the septic system is not overburdened, as well as we can't propose something that's very high sewage demand. So we would have to propose something that is very light use and something that would be accommodated by the septic system that could fit on the site in the rear. And I think that's the only concern that he brought up. So I'll address any other question that you might have for me.
Thank you, Tip.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have Vicky and Jerry Bales signed up to speak in favor. I don't know if you want to do that together or independently. You have 6.5 minutes of time remaining.
Anyway, I'm just saying I appreciate you giving us a chance to speak tonight, and I hope it will all go through, and it'll be a beautiful site, and Andrea and her family will be happy in what he's going to do, and I just think it'll be a great asset to Social Circle to have that there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll both really support it.
Okay, thank you. All right, signed up to speak against Andrea Reeves.
My name is Andrea Reeves, and I live at 1501 North Cherokee Road. We just moved there. 2 years. I am not ready to move again. I moved to this town because I love the rural and small town feel of this city. And I fell in love with that little house, and I want to remain in that little house. I'm opposed to Mr. Patel's special use permit request for a fuel station adjacent to my house, which only sits just mere feet from that property line. Feet. There is a large body of scientific evidence showing that those spending extended periods of time near a gas station pose a health threat to them. Studies documenting the adverse effects of gas station emissions on health are summarized in the CEDS's webpage. The California ARB handbook shows that adverse effects extend at least 500 feet. And these effects are sensitive land uses such as daycares, parks, homes, hospitals, etc., and schools. Montgomery County in Maryland and other jurisdictions across the U.S. have adopted codes that new gas stations be located 500 feet or more from the nearest home. Benzene, have you ever heard of that? Benzene? It is a chemical compound in gasoline that constitutes the most harmful to human health that can cause cancer, nausea, anemia, which I've already battled with, increased susceptibility to infections, headaches, migraines, tuberculosis, and leukemia. And that's just a fraction. According to the World Health Organization guidelines for indoor air quality, there is no safe level. A 2001 study found ambient benzene levels of 1.9 parts per billion in houses and places of work up to 328 feet from service stations. Then, in 2019, a study of U.S. gas stations found that benzene emissions from underground storage tank vents were sufficiently high to constitute health and concern at distances up to 524 feet.
Under Mr. Patel's site plan, it is not known how many septic systems would be required in the stormwater management facility may not be adequate to manage the amount of water runoff from this proposed development. I already live in a bowl. From Highway 11 in North Cherokee, it flows downward. The railroad track right behind me is raised up. Fuel stations in urban areas are stormwater hotspots for hydrocarbons and very heavy metals and may merit the use of enhanced pollution prevention and stormwater controls. On that same site plan, the septic system and stormwater management facility would be adjacent to each other and just a matter of feet from our home. The Georgia Stormwater Management Manual recommends septic systems have a minimum setback of 50 feet from the edge of water management facility. For all these reasons, along with my other safety concerns, which a fence won't stop a robbery, I'm asking you to please vote no and deny the special use request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves. Regina Davidson.
Never used one of these.
You have to cup your hand around the top of it, and
Okay.
I'll remind you, you have 2 minutes
Okay.
rebuttal.
My name's Rogina Davidson, and I'm co-owner with Andrea, who just spoke, of the 1501 North Cherokee property, where she lives with her husband. I opposed the special use permit request for the fuel station adjacent to our property. The community development staff and the planning commission have gone on record at least twice recommending to you denial of the special use permit request to build a fuel station at the properties that have already been named. We've attended all meetings of the planning commission and mayor and council dealing with the special use permit request and variance, and have stated our sincere and real concerns regarding fuel station at these properties. Among our concerns are long operating hours with loud noises, high-intensity night lighting, toxic fumes, increased traffic, and water runoff. Other concerns are potential fuel spills and explosions, crime, and loitering that could extend to our adjacent property. These issues would affect the quality of life, health, and safety of my daughter and son-in-law, not to mention the valuation of our property as a residence. The Unified Development Code was adopted to promote public health, safety, gender welfare of the residents, property owners, and visitors to this city. I urge you to deny this special use permit request along with the variance, which I can just leave off now, can't I? I may end up living down here one of these days. I'm getting kind of old. So I hope that I don't have a filling station next door to where I move in with my daughter. Thank you very much for hearing me. And I can't say how disappointed I am that the variance passed. I think there are lots of other opportunities for something really better suited for that lot to go there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Ms. Gray.
Thank you, Ms. Reed and Ms. Davidson. I appreciate hearing your concerns. We might not can agree on a lot, but we can agree that Andrea is a fantastic first name. But I do want to give some time to talking through Again, the things that my client has done to be a good neighbor and to mitigate for any potential impacts to Ms. Reed, who lives there, again, the buffers, the trees, the fencing. And again, 2 years ago when she moved in, it was still a commercial property next door. It was a commercial property 50 years ago on a state highway. And so I think, the reasonable expectation that it would remain undeveloped, wasn't particularly reasonable. But again, my client wants to be a good neighbor and has been a good neighbor at his store on Highway 11 down in Monroe. And so he is local, he is invested in this community, and will be a good neighbor to Miss Reed. Just want to address a few of the other things that she has mentioned, with regard to, again, potential concerns about health issues and those types of things. And I'm sorry to sound repetitive, but this is a highly regulated industry that will be regulated by the state of Georgia through EPD. And so the fears of these types of leakage or poor management or whatnot, that is just not allowed by EPD. This will be regulated on an annual basis by that agency. Again, stormwater tip relayed again that we will follow the Georgia Stormwater Manual. And again, that's not something you could skip. It's highly regulated, and we will have to meet those requirements to get a building permit here in Social Circle. Ms. Davidson mentioned concerns about operating hours, and I did want to give the operating hours that we're proposing on this project are Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., so relatively early shutdown. Saturday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And these are the hours that Mr. Patel operates his existing station down on Highway 11 in Monroe. So again, other mitigating measures that he will not be open till midnight. They will be closing at a reasonable, normal bedtime type hour. So with that, again, just, we ask that you approve the special use permit. This will be a benefit to the community. Mr. Patel will be a good neighbor. It will generate additional tax revenues for this city, and it will meet a need for a gas station on Highway 11 that doesn't require people to drive through the beautiful downtown city that you have. And again, for 50 years, it was a gas station and for a commercial use. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have, and respectfully request that you grant the special use permit.
Question, the hours of operation, do he want to put that's the type of hours he are going to operate, or do he want to leave it open? So if we grant it with those hours of operation, is he fine with that?
He's fine with those being a condition. Yes.
I want to state the hours for the record. Please state the hours for the record. This can be a condition.
Yes, I'm happy to repeat those. It's Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Does that condition, if he decides to sell it, does that condition follow it? Or does that condition go away?
The condition stays with the property.
I mean, my concerns are, now that we voted for the gas station to be there and their home is next to the gas station, then I wouldn't want to go to sleep knowing that people were around my house at 12:30, 1 o'clock, or 24 hours while I'm sleeping, knowing that people can be traveling through by my house. That's my concern now. And if he's good with those hours, as long as a home there, if somebody leaves and it becomes another piece of property, then the hours could change. That's just my concern now.
I don't think a business should have to come before us to decide when they should want to operate. If that's the case, then why did we take the time out of it so Waffle House could locate up there?
That's only my concern.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean,
we don't have,
if you
we
go.
don't have that many business within, touching another piece of property either. That's, a home residential.
Yeah, we do. We got the Marathon. It
Well,
touches properties all.
But what time the
all the way
marathon
around.
close? 10 o'clock?
11.
And Highway 11 is more busier than what's called.
Then this is on Highway 11.
That's what I'm saying. It's more busy. That's just the
Before we
concern.
continue with this, Ms. Gray, do you have anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sir, I'm here to answer questions.
I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion and/or a motion?
I do want to clarify something with Ashley. So, just to clarify that there is no residentially zoned properties that are within 50 feet, which is what our ordinance says, correct?
Correct. So a residentially zoned property is something that starts with the letter R. So R15, R25, RMD. Ag is technically not a residentially zoned property, even though it has a residential use on it. To kind of go into what you're talking about conditioning the property, the rezoned properties that you guys rezoned, the buffer condition states that the buffer only has to remain as long as the property to the south is residential in use. So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
The closest residential is probably behind there.
Yeah. In the
On railroad tracks,
yeah.
Sorry, that is ag, and not residential, the house.
At one time, that was owned
Next
by
door,
one
yeah.
family. The Lemons family owned it all. The old house out there on the hill was the home place. That's where all the kids grew up.
All right, ready for a motion?
I would like to make a motion to grant the special use permit.
Okay. Motion from Teresa, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion again passes 3-1 with Councilmember Jackson voting not in favor. All right, that completes our public hearings. I know some of you may be here just for that, so you're welcome to leave if you like, or you're welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting.
They must be here for credit.
Yeah, somebody wanting to
Sign off on signature.
All right, we will continue with our meeting. Consent agenda, Mr. Taylor.
We have 7 items for the consent agenda this evening. We have the minutes of the mayor and council regular meeting from January the 16th. We have executive session minutes from January the 16th, 2024. We have the minutes of the mayor and council retreat from January the 19th. We have the minutes of the mayor and council work session from February 1st, 2024. We have the minutes of the mayor and council retreat from February 10th, 2024. We have a resolution ratifying the resolution for Barbara Schlager's retirement. There was a resolution granted to her at her retirement party, and this formally puts it to the record. And we have a renewal of the statewide mutual aid agreement. This is something we need to do every few years. This document provides a framework to support mutual assistance in case there's an emergency, and kind of lays out the guidelines and who's able to ask for the assistance, et cetera. We recommend approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion, Steve?
Sure.
Nathan, I'll second.
All right, motion from Nathan, second from Steve. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We don't have any unfinished business that I'm aware of. New business. First item, approval of intergovernmental agreement for 2025 SPLOS.
So our current SPLOS with the county expires at the end of this calendar year, and the county and the cities in Walton County have all met and have agreed on the framework for a referendum that will go on the May primary. And it would be for it would be for a 6-year SPLOS that's estimated to collect a total of $120 million countywide, of which $34,560,000 will be going to the county to help pay for the public safety facility that they're building up there. So the allocation of the funds after this acquisition, after this funding is given, is the City of Social Circle will get 6.014% of collections for an estimated total of $5,138,331.60. And the city is proposing that if this is approved, that we will allocate $1.4 million for transportation projects, $1.2 million for water sewer projects, $2,124,049 for public safety projects, of which the largest part of this will be for fire trucks, and $413,482.60 for parks and recreation projects. Recommend approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and a motion from Teresa and a second from Steve. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2, approve the transfer of $450,000 from gas reserves to water fund for inter-fund loan to pay for water treatment plant emergency repairs.
So what this is that the city had a request that was going before the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority for their approval for emergency loan at their January meeting, and that particular request was tabled as the state considers whether they want to redo their requirements for who's authorized or who's eligible for these types of loans. And so we have worked that out with GFA. They're going to hear that at their next meeting. However, we still have a vendor we have to pay for some emergency water treatment plant repairs we had to make that were repairs where time was of the essence, and we could not delay any of those repairs. And so we may need them again, and so I think we need to pay our bill. And to do so, I'm requesting that the City Council approve a transfer of $450,000 from gas reserves. We have about $4.5 million in gas reserves to the water fund for an inter-fund loan to pay for those water treatment plant emergency repairs. And then the plan is to reimburse this loan once we get the GFA loan.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Nathan and a second from Teresa. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Discussion of referendum calling for Sunday package sale.
So back in November, the voters of Social Circle approved the sale of packaged liquor within our city limits. As we go through and finalize our alcohol ordinance, one of the things that we noticed was that even though you can now sell liquor in the city limits, you can't do it on a Sunday. There needs to be a special referendum calling for that question to see if the citizens want to go ahead and authorize package sales. Similar to the SPLOST agreement, we have the ability to put it on the referendum for the May primaries. And so if you want to do that, we thought we would need to do that, have that discussion tonight so that we can move forward on that. If you don't want to do it tonight, then we can look at doing it for the November general election.
And this is because of a state of Georgia law, correct?
Yes. You can sell liquor on Sundays, but you have to have approval by the local voters.
There's a certain time, right, that it opens up. They can't sell like Sunday mornings. It's like 12 o'clock or something like that.
It's 12:30 for package stores, and
State regulation.
this could have been done. You can approve beer, wine, and liquor all at the same time, which the city back whenever did beer and wine, but there was no reason to put liquor on there because there was no liquor allowed in the city. So just kind of a cleanup after, yeah.
So you have the option, well, first of all, if you want to call for the referendum, that's the first discussion. Second is when you want to do it. Do you want to do it in May or do you want to do it in November?
I think we get more voters in November.
That's what my thought was too. Yeah.
That's better voters. I mean, it May is limited amount of people that's going to turn out to vote. November, you got the majority of people.
So if you guys want to do November, then I would suggest holding off on any kind of approvals tonight, because once you actually approve a referendum, you start a rolling timeline where you have to meet certain milestones and certain times.
So we table this until,
We just remove from the agenda.
okay.
You have to call it, I think it's, off the top of my head, it's between 45 and 120 days before the election. So you're looking at
July.
July, August, yeah.
Off the subject, you're talking about, but what is the early voting signs up for? What are they voting for?
President.
Yeah, presidential primary in March.
I thought they'd done that at the same time they had the runoffs for the county commissioners and stuff like that. They've changed it.
That's in April. Yeah, the president's.
They changed all of it.
So do we need to do anything then?
We don't need to do anything. I mean, unless you guys want to call it for the May primary.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're good with November?
Yeah, we're not going to have a package store built before November.
Yeah.
All right, final item on our agenda, board appointments. I don't know if we have any appointments. I know we had a few renewals that came up. Susan, do you have those names?
The renewals,
Yeah.
for the cemetery board, we have, 2 vacancies and 2 that need to be renewed.
I thought that before we could do all that, I thought we were looking at what boards we were going.
Yeah, let's hold off on the cemetery,
Okay?
if you don't mind.
For the DDA,
Vacancy.
we have, 1 position that needs to be renewed, that's, held by Steve Williams, and we have 1 vacancy.
And they have no recommendations for us, is that correct?
They have not provided one.
Okay.
So have we advertised that positions for the DDA?
I have not specifically advertised that, no, sir.
I know certain criteria that needs to be met.
I make a motion to reappoint Steve Williams to the DDA.
Second.
Okay, motion from Steve, second from Tyson to reappoint Steve Williams to the Downtown Development Authority. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Historic Preservation Commission, Tom Brown and Cornelia Lambert are up for renewal.
Is she even participating in that?
she does, she has she's a college professor, so a lot of her time is spent up in Atlanta, but
She's
when
got a
she's not teaching,
75%
She does.
attendance.
Yeah, her attendance is 75%.
What was our threshold? I thought we came like last time. I thought it was
We had her,
75 at the.
I thought, yes, I don't know I can't remember what the
We said
threshold
so.
was. But she's got 75% participation. Yep.
James got 79.
He works out of
so-
town too.
And Jay's got 79, so I mean, it's,
I mean, she's good. We just reappointed Steve Williams and he has 63.
that's why I was asking about the threshold. Did we have anything other?
He has he's a small business owner. He travels a lot.
Yeah, a professor at 75%.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Tom Brown and Cornelia Lambert.
A second.
we have a motion from Nathan and a second from Tyson. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'm gonna skip the library because their appointments are, in June. However, just make note that we do have 1 city, vacancy.
I think Angela, she's gone, they're gone. Angie?
Yeah, and then there's the question about, Griswold, who,
They
never
gone.
officially
they're
resigned, but
gone.
I don't think she ever,
Yeah.
engaged either. So
Yeah,
you
they're
really
gone.
have 2 vacancies.
And those vacancies are not required to be filled until they run from July through June.
Okay.
So we'll have to do those now.
All right, on the planning commission, up for renewal are Adolphus Gaither and Sonora Jackson.
I'll make a motion to put Adolphus Gaither and Sonora Jackson.
Second.
All right, have a motion from Tyson and a second from Tracy. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
All right,
Are we going to hold off on Main Street?
Yeah, hold off on Main Street if you don't mind.
Social Circle Development Authority, we have one up for reappointment, that would be Hal Dally.
I'll make the motion to reappoint Hal Dally.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Nathan and a second from, was it you, Tyson? Second from Tyson. I will note that the appointment is not ours to appoint a chairman. The appointment is to appoint the person to the board, and they elect their own chairman, which I believe they've already done for this year.
That's correct.
So saying that, motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
And there are none on the tree board.
Getting close.
All right. Looks like that concludes our meeting. We do have a need for an executive session, so I'll ask for a motion to enter executive session to discuss real estate personnel litigation.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion from Steve and a second from Tyson. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, we'll entertain a motion to re-enter the normal session and then amend the agenda to add a component.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to add 124 South Cherokee and 136 South Cherokee to the agenda.
Second that motion.
Add them as what?
Purchases.
Purchase of, okay. All right, we've got a motion from Steve and a second from Tyson. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying
Hold on a
aye.
second.
Yes,
There are a couple of other items that need to be part of this motion.
okay.
So let's do them in two separate motions, if we can.
That's what I done.
We're just
They're
adding
in
the
two
agenda
separate
items now.
Okay, sorry.
Clear?
Good.
Motion second still stand?
So,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Steve?
All right, on 124 South Cherokee, I make a motion to purchase that piece of property for $325,000.
second.
Also, as part of that motion, we need to have authorization for the mayor and city manager
To sign.
sign documents and to pay for this fund balance.
All right, add that to it, Susan.
I keep my second.
Motion second still
To
stands. All,
sign, and what was the second part?
Authorized payment.
Out of fund balance.
Use of fund balance to purchase the properties.
General fund.
and that was on which property?
That
Steve?
was on 124 South Cherokee.
Okay. Well, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Steve?
Make another motion to purchase 136 South Cherokee for $145 and authorize the mayor and Eric to execute all documents and the money to come out of fund balance.
Second.
Okay. Motion from Steve, second from Tyson. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I always get my choice on those, don't I?
Got it.
All in favor?
Yeah, all in favor, say aye. Unless you want to stay.
I'm good. You good?